Are you able to work with me? Thank you.
Great. All right, so welcome everyone. I will try and run through this information pretty quickly. We are in the midst of onboarding and orientation for all of our new folks starting July 1st. You know, I just wanted to review with you the orientation dates. So we're doing 2 Zoom orientation sessions, June 29th, which is a Thursday for all residents, and July 3rd, which is a Monday for all of the fellows and the PGY2s. We will be doing a GME welcome, and it will be a luncheon this year. We're doing it in the multi-purpose room, east and west. So that's the main part of the Sherman Center cafeteria. We'll be doing that from 12 to 1:30, and remarks will begin from leadership at 12:30. So your residents can start to come over at noon and grab lunch, sit down, chat with their colleagues, and then 12:30 we'll start the formal program. Right when that ends at 12:45, the Immigration Services information session will begin, and that's going to be, I believe, on the 2nd floor of the Sherman Center. And this is in person, and it's mandatory for everybody who's here on a visa. Coordinators are welcome to attend that, and Kate Carroll will be leading it, I think, along with Veda. And this is where they go over all of the, all of the things that they need to know now that they're here in the United States, and, getting their driver's license, any help with Social Security card and things like that. So it's really important that they attend. The IS training dates are all set. So we're starting June 23rd for residents, and that will go on the 26th, 27th, 28th. Saturday, July 1st, we have sessions scheduled with most of the fellows. And then we'll end our training on July 5th. This year we decided we were not going to do catering for lunch this year. I don't know if you all are familiar with Eric's La Patisserie, but he was like our caterer for many years, and he actually retired. And it had just become really a tough exercise for us to try and accommodate food allergies and food preferences. And he really did a great job sort of accommodating all of our special requests. And we weren't quite sure how we would, find someone who would do it to that degree. So to just make things a lot easier, we decided we would give Nextdine cards. So for anybody who's new, Nextdine is the cafeteria that is part of the medical school, and it's in the Sherman Center. Those cards will be able to be used in that cafeteria during the IS training. And then people are welcome to hold on to the cards and use them at another time if they wish to. For those folks who are going to be with us on Saturday the 1st, because the school cafeteria would not be open, we'll provide Sodexo gift cards. So they'll be able to go down to this hospital cafeteria, grab lunch. And some people will be doing the condensed training that will likely end around lunchtime. So again, last year we had a lot of leftover lunches because people just went back to their departments. So we had a lot of wasted food. This will allow people, like I said, to decide at the end of their training if they want to, use the card that day or save it for another day. Just wanted to say a couple quick things about required e-learning. So I don't know if most of you have probably heard about the new workplace violence modules that are being built into the into HealthStream. And we have Chris Slocum, who is the project manager for this work, come and present to the new incoming interns and fellows about workplace violence and the trainings that they're developing. So the training is called Evade, and there's 2 different sessions. So the one that everyone will have to do as part of their e-learning is the level 1 training, and that's the workplace violence prevention. And this training takes about 1 hour for people to complete. The next level of training, the level 2 Evade training, is caregiver safety training, and it's a hands-on skill class. So this one, you may want to work with your new incoming folks to start to build this into maybe some program related orientation or training that they will take, once they've joined us. It is a little bit more time intensive, obviously, and so it's probably something that you would want to do as a group rather than trying to send people sporadically to this 4-hour training. From what I'm hearing, it's very valuable and it's a good thing for people to do. So at a minimum, all of the new folks are going to do that 1-hour training. And then I think it's part of the coordinators and the program directors to sort of talk about what does the level 2 look like and how do we want to accommodate that. Also, standards of respect, that is also a required module that will get assigned to them. I am hearing from my contact in HR there, Karen DaCosta, that is going to get assigned to them on their hire date. So if they're being hired on 7/1, it will be in their health stream on 7/1, and then they will have 60 days to complete that training. Does anyone have any questions about those first 2 slides?
Just to hop in real quick, part of my updates, I am going to talk about health stream tracking. So if you have any questions about health stream module tracking, I'm going to talk about it. I'll loop in everybody on my stuff.
And I will say that I've reached out to Chris Slocum and the team about getting the 2nd tier of VA training for my current trainees. And the dates aren't as available as one would think. So I think they're working on ramping that up, but it's not like you can say, oh, we meet on Wednesdays from 1 to 4. It's our block didactic time and we want them to do this training. Do you have it available on that day? Nope, they may not. So it does take some planning. So if you do want to do that 2nd step, start planning early.
Sounds good. So just kind of moving on with some other onboarding sorts of tasks here. So just a reminder that Employee Health did change their process for drug screening, and this happened last year. It makes it a lot more flexible for our incoming trainees. They can now go to any Quest lab before they get to Worcester or once they arrive in Worcester. So it's much easier process than in previous years. When they are fully credentialed, and Cassie and Deb can correct me if I'm wrong, when they are fully cleared or credentialed, that is when MedHub is going to get updated. I know some people have been checking that and then saying like, oh, my person. And so you're only going to see that change once they're fully credentialed, fully cleared, then that will show for you.
That's in the onboarding form. There's 2 sections that's like the orientation tab that coordinators see. There's 2 sections that are still in yellow that say GME review, and that's credentialing and Mass Health. Once we receive clearance from those departments, I check those off as completed. It's our own way of tracking.
Right.
I also wanted to mention licensing will be pretty much done the same way. I'm going to use the month of June to upload all the new certificates for those that have recently been licensed or provisionally issued a license, and all of the license renewal certificates will also be uploaded during June, as well as the expiration dates will be changed at that time. So just let your trainees know, current and new, that even if they have been, if their license was renewed, it's not reflecting yet in MedHub, but it will definitely prior to 7/1/2023. So just wanted to let you know that.
Great. And then I put a little bit of information recently in one of the orientation update emails about health insurance. So we do reimburse for 2 months of health insurance. So for the people who are starting July 1st, their health insurance is not going to be effective until September 1. So they have a couple of options available to them to have coverage during that time. They are able to purchase a Mass Health Connector plan by going to the Mass Health Connector website. There's a variety of different plans, different prices, different, costs of premiums and copays, and there's a lot of availability for that. They do need to pick a plan prior to May 31st, which is coming up. So you want to just remind your folks that if they do find the need to have health insurance for those 2 months before their GIC plan kicks in, that they want to do that ahead of time. If they are not currently in the state of Massachusetts, they can still elect a Mass Health Connector plan. They can use the 55 Lake Ave address so that they're able to do that, because they're not able to purchase a plan if they're out of the state of Massachusetts. The other option is that, they can also COBRA their current health insurance. So if they are maybe working as an attending in another state, coming here to do a fellowship, they could elect to COBRA their the plan that they currently have. COBRA is a lot more expensive, but the hospital has not put any sort of maximum reimbursement contingencies on us. So even if the COBRA plan is fairly expensive, we would still reimburse for that for those 2 months. And then there's some medical students who are coming here for residency, and their medical school coverage sometimes extends for them, I think, for at least a month. So they have a little bit of leeway to determine whether or not they want to purchase additional coverage or sort of take a gamble for that 1 month. The reimbursement process is very straightforward. We can't process reimbursement until 7/1 or after 7/1 once they're working. And they just need to provide copies of basically the bill to show us what plan they purchased, and provide a receipt. And additionally, with the receipt that they would get from the system, a copy of like a credit card statement or a bank statement that shows that the money was taken for the payment. We only reimburse for plans that cover health insurance only. So no dental plans, no vision plans. And we don't reimburse for copays or anything like that. So it's just straight reimbursement for the cost of the health insurance for those 2 months. And then we will process those. Megan usually processes them, in the first, few months that they're here. And usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks for them to get the check, and it's going to come directly to them as a paper check from UMass Memorial Medical Center. It will not be additional compensation in their school paycheck. So you just want to make sure that you alert them to that. We let them know that as well, but we just don't want them throwing away a check that comes to them in the mail.
Cassie's been doing a great job answering questions in the chat. I had submitted a question if there's a deadline to submit the health insurance reimbursements. I had someone tell me literally last week, like, hey, I have to submit my health insurance reimbursement from the summer. And I am aware that there is anything over 180 days is taxable income, but do we have a hard stop? And I think it would be beneficial to let them know, say by this date, if you don't reimburse, this is what's going to happen. I told my trainee we're going to have a discussion, and I did ask him to reach out to you guys. I don't know if he has, but I figured I'd give you guys a heads up that did happen at least this year.
Typically, I reach out to them around November, December, saying, hey, if you have insurance bills that you need to be reimbursed for, you need to submit them by like mid-November. I think that's what I did last year. It is much more helpful for me just because if it goes, much past that, it sort of starts crossing the budget year, and, so we just want to make sure that we get them in sooner than later. So if he does reach out or she reaches out, we can process it. But have you had that conversation with them about the tax implications?
I did not. I just told him to reach out to you guys, and I did tell him that this should have been handled way earlier. But as always, he was rushing to, he was on service, and he just kind of stopped by the office really quickly, and he was rushing, and then he kept it moving. So
Okay.
I will follow up with him because it seems like he hasn't reached out if you guys are unaware.
I mean, Megan may have heard from him. I have not seen anything in like the OGM email box. So, but yeah, if he reaches out, we'll definitely work with him. And then the last thing is just around communication. So this year, we've continued to use the Google Drive to organize all of the material that you guys need to access and complete or share with your trainees, or to just be made aware of what your trainees have received from us. This is just an example of one of the emails, and the last one that I did, I tried to separate for you onboarding stuff and orientation at the beginning, and then things that were related to offboarding, and then also the links to the previous updates that have been sent. One thing with the offboarding, there are several tasks that we're kind of working on as people are still working on the onboarding pieces. I had asked all of the coordinators to review that Google Sheet that has all of the accrual balances that were as of April, end of April, I think, middle of April. And for you guys to go in and just check them and have them accurate as of what they will be on June 30th. So if someone's showing 20 hours, but you know that they have vacation scheduled and it's going to be 0, I need you to make sure that it says 0 as of June 30th. This is the information that HR is going to use when they're processing the final paychecks. Any vacation time that is still on the books does get paid out to the resident or fellow. So we really need to make sure that A, you're doing accurate timekeeping throughout the year. If you're not, or you've had, staff changes and things have fallen through the cracks, that you pay attention to that sheet. And then HR is requiring, payroll is requiring that you still do a time sheet correction. So if you are making changes to that sheet for time that had been taken previously that did not get reported, you want to make sure that you go back and submit those timesheet correction forms. The most recent thing that I sent out was resident vacation carryover. So as has been our normal practice in GME, we've always allowed up to 5 days to be carried over into the next academic year. Most of the time it was, due to an impending maternity leave or a paternity leave, maybe a surgery that was scheduled towards the beginning of the new academic year. So we were always allowing for that. The CIR contract, the resident unions contract, does stipulate this now in writing. It notes that it needs to be requested with, has to have prior approval, and it does not happen automatically. So I know there's been a lot of chatter amongst the residents about like, oh, we get to carry over 5 days. It doesn't happen automatically. So you need to chat with your residence program director, make sure that you're filling out that Google Sheet that lets me know these are the residents or fellows that are going to carry over X amount of hours into the next academic year. In red in the top right-hand corner, I have a little note that reminds you that I do need to have an email from the program director that says that this has been approved. One email for all of your folks is fine. If, you have 5 people that are carrying over time, it can just be one email to me that says the following people in the Department of OBGYN are going to carry over time, and I've approved this. And that's good enough for us. I'll then work with payroll and they'll make the accrual adjustments as of July 1st. The other thing that I've been getting a lot of questions on is off-cycle people and what happens with their vacation time come July 1st. So when people start off cycle, their first year time is prorated. So they don't get the full accrual balance for the entire academic year. Depending on when their start date is, it is prorated based on that. They are then on a 6/30, 7/1 ending and start for their accruals. When they come to their final year, 6/30, just as in previous years, their balance is going to zero out. And on 7/1, if they are extending until, say, September 1st or, August 15th, they will get prorated amounts for vacation, sick, and personal. They're not going to get the 160 hours of vacation, the 120 of sick time. So I just wanted to make sure that I explained that to you, because I have been getting questions from coordinators and also from residents about, well, hey, I'm still going to have this time. And doesn't my time go until, September 14th when I'm ending? It does not. Prorated at the beginning, then you're always on 7/1 getting the full bank of your accruals. And then at the end, we'll prorate it for those final weeks or months. Exit interviews, just please encourage your folks to attend if they're graduating and leaving UMass Chan. This is not for change of program folks. If they are going from residency to fellowship, I will talk to them when they graduate their fellowship. But if they are leaving UMass Chan, they should attend one of the 4 sessions. I've held 2 of them. May 25th and June 2nd are the 2 remaining dates. After the May 25th session, we will post the recording in MedHub so that if they are not able to attend the final session, they will be able to watch the recording. And, you know, pretty much everybody wants to know how they're going to access their money from the Mass State Retirement System, how they can get those funds and either cash it out or roll it into a retirement plan. But I cover lots of different pieces of information in that session. And so it's valuable for me if people can attend that, because it does cut down on the amount of phone calls that we get from people wanting to know, how do I handle my public service loan forgiveness form? What form should I use to get my retirement? And so, like I said, it's very important that they attend those. So if you could just remind your folks to do that. And I think that's it for me. I think that was my last slide. I did send out an email recently. I think Debbie DeMarco sent out something about GME Track. And that program survey is going to be available. And we will create from the GME office a cheat sheet for you so that you'll be able to have the responses to all the institutional questions that are asked. We want to make sure that across UMass Chan Medical School, everyone's answering questions related to resources and benefits, that everyone's answering those in the same way. GME Track is a recruitment tool, so it is, you know, important that you complete it, and again, use the cheat sheet to make it easier on yourself, and you'll have a reference point for all the answers you need to give.
I would like to pivot back really quickly to the vacation days that roll over. I put this in the chat, but especially for new coordinators, I just want to remind them to take into consideration board requirements if they are rolling over 5 vacation days. Cassie put in the chat that GME nor ACGME are the ones that determine if someone needs to extend or not. That's determined by your specialty certifying board. So for example, PEDS, you're allowed 4 weeks per year. If they decide to roll over 5 days and they want to take 5 weeks, that may lead to a 1-week extension unless we get those 5 days waived. So just something to keep in mind if you have trainees that are rolling over time.
Every board should have their own time away policy, leave policy. Every board is slightly different. You need to, you know, everyone has to report differently. You know, you need to have a certain amount of training time at, you know, in training in order to certify. So yeah, the coordinators schedule mask fit testing for newbies. I have not heard anything about mask fit testing, but I'm assuming you should be doing that on your own.
Yep, I think it was in one of the updates, I want to say.
Oh,
like,
yeah, that's right.
the first one. Yeah, I think in the first one, because they have like a whole scheduling software that you just click on this link
That's
and
right.
you can schedule your folks. They implemented that a few years ago during COVID, and it's really been a nice feature. I think they use the same platform that we did when we had to do the COVID testing. You just go in, you can pick the dates, put in their names, and they'll get a confirmation. There's also a sample of an email that you can send to your new incoming that kind of gives them a guidance on, you know, whether they need to have mask fit testing, what if they've already been fit tested or they have an N95 mask. So just review that information and share that with them so that they know exactly what they need to do before they get here.
Yeah, it's in one of these emails. I remember seeing that. So
Yeah,
if you go to the onboarding link that Melissa's been sending out, I bet all of her emails are in here as well with all the different links and updates and stuff like that. So you can connect to it from there.
All right. The only other thing, Melissa, that I had listed, I didn't know if you wanted to say a few words about the awards or if you want to table that for later in the meeting.
Sure, I mean, I can say something about it now. So we had the official call go out at the beginning of May for two of our awards that we established last year. One is Program Coordinator of the Year, and the other is It's All About Balance. The Program Coordinator of the Year is really geared towards the full-time core residency or fellowship coordinator. And the It's All About Balance Award focuses more on the coordinators who are maybe in a split role and, you know, maybe are in a clinical setting, working a lot with patients and physicians, but then also have this secondary role where they have academic responsibilities and work closely with the GME office to make sure that their program is in compliance, which is no easy task. And so that's why we decided to have two separate awards. The deadline for submitting nominations is June 16th, I believe. We released this in tandem with the performance review process on the school side, because we were hoping that it would be a good conversation starter as you're meeting with your supervisors to talk about your achievements and accomplishments. That, you know, if you feel like you've met criteria, it's something that you should discuss with your program director. If you think that you are a strong candidate, sometimes program directors are busy, supervisors are busy, they could miss things like that. So I would say advocate for yourself. If you feel like you meet criteria and you think you should be nominated, definitely have that conversation. I've received, I think, maybe 3 or 4 nominations. So I will be sending a reminder out to programs, just, you know, letting people know and reminding people of the deadline. We will be reviewing the applications over the summer with the, and we will be, you know, recognizing hopefully 2 award winners at our GME Professionals Day, which we celebrate in the month of August. I believe it's slated for August 18th. That's the national day that it's observed, which also is a Friday. And I think in the last couple of years that we've been celebrating it, Friday in August is a very tough day. So a lot of people are taking vacations. And so I think we will be discussing with the Coordinator Advisory Committee what makes sense, maybe doing something midweek that week or midweek the following week. So we will do some sort of a social, and like I said, we will recognize the 2 award winners at that time. If anyone has any questions or wants to chat offline about, you know, nominating themselves or how to have that conversation, I'm happy to talk with you. Anything I'm missing, Monique, on that?
Nope, I think that about sums it up.
So hopefully the communication strategy we're using to share information is working for people. I think that the Google Drive, you know, continues to be a better solution for us than MedHub, even though I would like to be able to say all of this is in MedHub. I think the Google Drive continues to give us a nice visual, and I think it's easier for people to sort of see things and gravitate towards things, because there's that visual aspect that, you know, MedHub unfortunately just doesn't have. So please continue to go there to look for updates. The one thing that I put that was new for the incoming people is I will be reaching out to you soon to start tracking the orientation pay. And this is where you're going to fill out a Google sheet for me to tell me how many half-day sessions of training events people are participating in prior to July 1. So this is mostly focused on the residents because the fellows don't come here till July 1st. But in addition to the GME specific IS training, the GME orientation, the GME luncheon, and your program specific orientation activities, you're going to track that out for me. And then there's like this convoluted calculation that we use to get to the actual stipend amount. But everybody who has worked prior to July 1 will be compensated for the training time that they have worked. And that will be in either their first or second paycheck. One final thing, emergency loans. So typically our emergency loan in GME has been $400. It's payback through payroll deduction. There's a very generous grace period before you have to start making payments back. Because the new residents' first paycheck, and fellows as well, their first paycheck is not until July 21st. I did work with the finance group to see if we could get it higher than $400. That just doesn't really go that far for people who've relocated from another state and need to maybe buy a vehicle or, do first last security. They may need a little bit of help. So we were able to increase it for this short period of time. People that apply between June 16th and July 21st will be eligible for $1,000 loan that will also be paid back through payroll deduction. The only criteria that finance asked was that we not provide as long of a grace period, and we don't, and we have a higher payback amount per pay period. So I don't think that there's actually any grace period built in. They would get the loan on the day that they apply for it. Usually if they submit the form, the bursar's office will have the check the same day. And many of them, like I said, are going to be getting this orientation pay. So it hopefully will not be too big of a hit to have the higher payback amounts. I think instead of $50, it's like $250 or $150, it's something like that. So if you are interested in that for your residents, if you are having conversations with people who are already expressing to you that there are a lot of financial stressors for them, please reach out to me. We're not going to, push it out there to everyone. I'm not sending it out to all new incoming residents. It is a very manual process for finance and for the bursar. So we really want to kind of reserve it for those really, tough situations that you're being made aware of. I've already talked to a couple different programs with people coming in that are going to take advantage of it. So just keep that in the back of your mind and reach out to me if you want to help your resident take advantage of that.
Listen, were you able to check to see if they needed to wait to be on payroll on July 1st to receive
Yep.
a check?
They do.
So if they apply on June 16th, like you said, they're still gonna have to wait.
Yes, and it says that on the form. It says if you apply between this date and this date, the money is available on this date and it will start, so
perfect.
it's very detailed in that way. But yes, they will not be able to get it prior to being on the payroll, which is July 1st.
Thank you.
There's a question in the chat. It's from Michelle. She wants to know, when will the final accrual balance for vacation time be sent to fellows graduating July 31st? So does it usually take about 2 weeks for it to be sent?
So are you saying for the people who are graduating on June 30th, when will they get the pay?
She
No,
wrote July.
You know how you sent out the vacation accruals for
Yep,
through June 30th?
yep.
My sports and hand fellows weren't on it.
Right, because
They're
they're
off cycle, yeah.
They're off cycle, so we still have to have a meeting with payroll to talk
Okay.
about what our process should be for the off cycle people. Because we had some people that were ending like in February and no one ever checked with us to say, hey, are these amounts correct? And when we saw the amounts, we were like, wait a minute, that can't be right. And then I checked with the coordinator and they's like, no, that's not correct. So we definitely need to build a process to handle those people who are ending at other times other than the normal June 30th. So I'll be
Okay.
in touch with you, Michelle, on the people that you have that are going to be ending in August.
Because I know 2 of them need to carry over 5 days.
Okay. Yeah.
There's another question for Hilda, about the accrual rate for someone that's extending to November. Anyone that extends past that June 30th dead date, they get a prorated amount, because what happens is that on July 1st, they get front loaded with all of their accruals. It's not like us that accrue time, they get front loaded.
Yeah, so
for the
basically-
entire year. So there's
Yeah,
There's
so
there's a,
basically, they get 13.33 hours of vacation per month. Right, so you
Okay.
take 160, you divide it by 12, 13.33 hours per month. So if they're staying on until November, you're just gonna figure, July, August, September, October, right? So say 3 months, they're gonna have about 39 hours or close to a week's time. For their sick time, it's 10 hours a month. So 120 divided by 12. So it's pretty, straightforward in terms of how it gets calculated out. The only difference is sometimes, HR might bump it up a little bit if it's close, like when I say it's 39 hours, they might just say it's 40. So I can't give you the exact amount, but you'll have a pretty good idea if you use that as a calculation. And I know, Hilda, you reached out to me.
Yeah, no, that works. That works perfectly. I just wanted to be clear because I have to answer to one of the trainees. So I'm correct to understand you, Melissa, that the 8 hours will be wiped out come July 1st,
if it's not used, yes.
if it's not used, right? And then July 1st.
Or you ask to extend it. You can
Yeah, yes,
ask
you can.
to, roll it over.
The up to 5 days, Hilda. So if he has time on the books, then he can carry over up to 5 days as long as he's spoken with Ginny and she has agreed. And I get that approval email and you've updated that Google sheet that says roll over, 16 hours of time. Then payroll will adjust for that, plus prorate what he would get as of, July 1 based on his new end date.
Okay, so if he wants to roll over those 8 hours, he has to get approval from HR and Ginny?
Not from HR, just from Ginny, and you need to
Okay.
put it on that on the spreadsheet that's in the Google Drive that just says, it's like, the employee ID number, their name, the number of hours, and then just need an email from Ginny that says, John Smith can carry over 16 hours of time.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Yeah, and then once I have it on that sheet, I just submit it to payroll and then they're gonna make all the adjustments.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me share my screen for a few other updates on my end. I have received a few questions about the exit checklist that trainees need to complete. As I said in my email, I'm able to track when trainees complete it. As far as what goes on the coordinator end, you do not need to touch it until you collect the badge, you have returned cell phones. That's when your part comes in. So, for example, you're going to have your urgent task exit checklist for program responses. All you need to do is click update checklist, check off the things that you've done. If there's things that you have done so far, you can check it off and do save answers. I will finish later. Nobody should be checking off any of these things yet. Now, just because you don't check those off doesn't mean you're not going to get your graduate certificates, because obviously can't do this until their last day. So what I'm going to do is by the end of July, I expect all of these to be completed by the coordinators. But I, on the other hand, at the GME level, I can see when people have completed their checklist. I'm sorry. So what I do every day, I go into my alumni tracking. I check to see who's got pending program responses, because then I can see who's completed it. Like Zanab has done her part, so I've checked her off. Scott has done his part, so I've gone and checked him off. That's fine if there's no program responses and there's no approval yet. That's fine. You're still going to get that check mark on the grad cert tracking. That's that one. Just to kind of talk about, just show you what I was talking about when it comes to the orientation. So like I said, this section, the credentialing and the Mass Health and Medicare, both should have this GME review approval. Here, that once I receive credentialing clearance, I will check those both off. At this point, everything else should be done in here. I am seeing a lot of people, not a lot, a handful of people have still not completed the learning modules down here. Those should really be done sooner rather than later. These do have a due date of June 30th. Just, remind your people, get these done if they're not done yet. You guys can look at this yourselves. Like I said, you just went to the training, the trainee's profile, click on orientation, and then you can see if it's complete or incomplete. One last thing with this is the, where is it? Resident Fellow Badge ID form. That, if you have not turned this in to get your badges yet, please do so as soon as you can. Trainees need to have a badge in order to enter the building, and they need to enter the building in order to do their IS training. They come on July 1st, it's a Saturday, they're not going to be allowed into the building. Or, any day, like training starts at 8 a.m. They have to be in their seats at 8:30. I believe it's 8:30 actually. 8:30 in their seats, start training. So if you don't want to be here that early to hand out badges, make sure you get their badges to them beforehand. I will be at every IS orientation because I have to do MedHub. I will be giving a MedHub orientation to everyone. This year, finally, IS has agreed to have the MedHub app preloaded on everybody's phones, so that we don't have to worry about that. I will go through a basic orientation with them, though. The exit forms I talked about. Oh, just another callback to what Melissa was talking about with the GME track. When we do send a cheat sheet, for anyone that's a new coordinator that has never done the GME track updates before, don't do it until you get the information from GME, because there are a lot of institutional questions that you straight up won't have the answers to. When you're ready to do it, there is a GME track login link right here. If you do not have access to that, you need to reach out to the, I think it's the AAMC that handles this. Either way, when you log in, there's like a help email button or something that you can get an account for. That's not something we can set up for you, unfortunately. There's also right below that is a HealthStream e-learning link. Every trainee, new incoming, reappointing, graduating, change of program, everybody's been assigned HealthStream modules by this point. I had been tracking it for the new incoming, but now that the reappointing ones have been assigned it, there's so many modules that I can't go one by one and check them off anymore. It would take up my entire day. So as I did send you all the link to this spreadsheet that I put together, because it's much easier for me to just run a report and dump it in here for you guys. Everything is by program at the bottom. You can sort by name, A to Z. You can sort by the due date. You'll see there's the due date and then the completion date. There's a variety of different due dates. As I said in the email, I know some people are graduating before the due date. If they do it, they do it. If they don't, they don't. It's a clinical system thing that's been assigned to them. They got to do it. If they want to fight you on it, whatever. Anyone that's staying after these due dates, they will get pulled from service. They really started cracking down with that with the evade training earlier this year. We had a handful of people that had to be put on a paid admin leave because they didn't complete these things. So not a joke. They will start doing it. You have, please make sure that your people are completing their modules. There are a good chunk of people, new incoming and reappointing folks that are getting their stuff done, but it's up to you guys to follow up with your people to make sure that this stuff is getting done. in each tab, it has a mix of your new incoming and reappointing people. It would just be too much work for me to go in and pull out all of the graduates and then upload it here. It would just be too much. So please just follow up with your people on this one. And if they don't know their clinical user ID, it's in their demographics. I double checked, they actually don't have access to their clinical ID. They have access to their school ID on the resident profile, but you have access to both. So their clinical ID is what they need to log into HealthStream. So I did that. Onboarding I talked about. Oh, so we're actually doing really good as far as onboarding goes. I know we've been sending you guys the updates and putting it into the Google Drive. There's a handful that don't have their HR stuff done yet. I'm going to follow up with those couple of people and the coordinator directly tomorrow once I get the final list from HR. Again, I have received no credentialing clearances, which is not abnormal. Credentialing does take a while. Employee health, those are rolling in slowly now. They were pretty fast at the beginning, but now they're slowly trickling in. As a reminder, they need to be licensed, cleared employee health, cleared credentialing, cleared HR, and if they're on a visa, cleared visa before they are cleared 100% to start. Those things are not done. They cannot start on 7/1, therefore not get paid. As that date gets closer and closer, we will keep you updated. We will let you know if things are changing. I know sometimes these are kind of moving targets, but trust, you will not be sideswiped by knowing that people are not going to start on time. We will work with you. We will work with them to make sure. We want to see people get start on time, obviously, because it just makes more work for us. So malpractice face sheets, those are slowly trickling in as well. All the forms have been received, and I have turned them all into claims management. They are just slowly getting me the new incoming malpractice face sheets. Once I do send them to you, it is your responsibility to upload them to the malpractice folder in MedHub. I will have a whole nother round of malpractice face sheets in September because malpractice runs from October to October. So we will get a whole new chunk of them in October for everybody. Phone numbers are available. The work phone numbers, the cell phones that they get assigned, those have been uploaded into MedHub into contact information. That is right here, their their work cell phone. I do not have pager numbers yet. Please stop asking. As soon as I get them, I will provide them to you. Clinical IS has not provided them to us yet, or the telephony people haven't provided them to us yet. So can't do it unless we've got it. Let's see. And then the last thing was just, you know, in the Google Drive, I shared with you guys the tracking. And then just a reminder, you all should have the link to the onboarding. And this is every single document that is provided in the docs in onboarding. That's every single document that's provided to the trainees. And then here's all the other, you know, coordinator updates or the schedules and things like that. Please make sure, you know, if you have a question about onboarding stuff, start here. Most likely the answer is going to be in here. And there was one other thing, I forgot to write it down. Melissa was talking about all the exit information. So there's a folder, GME exit interview paperwork. Everything that Melissa talks about at the exit interview is available in here. It's available to residents. So if they want to know more about, like, I need that form for blah, 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 to get their, you know, whatever, their retirement fund withdrawals, all of those forms are in here. Everything's available to the trainee. The recording is going to be uploaded in here. So again, we get so many questions about how do I pull out my money? Who does it get sent to? All of us in here. I always point them to here. Just, hey, check this. Oh, thank you. So just means sometimes you gotta remind residents where they gotta find that stuff. And I think that's it for my updates. I'm just checking my notes I took real quick. Yep, that's all I have. So thank you all so much.
All right, so I just confirmed with Deb Rolo that there are no updates regarding licensing besides the email that went out late last week. So if you have any questions about licensing, please check that email. And if anything, reach out to Deb Rolo. Megan, I didn't know if you had updates regarding like lab coats or meal cards or anything like that.
Yep, so just lab coats, the chief lab coats. I spoke to Nick at Trippies and they're actually packaging them up now. So they should be shipped to the programs by the end of this week. And mail cards are all set.
All
Yeah,
right,
I
awesome.
forgot one thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say for lab coats, please make sure that when you get the box, that you go through them and make sure that everything that you ordered or need is in that box. Please don't wait until, July 2nd, July 5th to be going through it. We'd like to take care of any issues with the order with Trippies as soon as possible. So when the delivery comes, if within the week, you can, go through that and reach out to Megan if something seems off or you're missing something, and that way we can take care of it quickly with him.
I had one more thing. Since I will be at IS training every morning, I will be handing out the blue resident and fellow badges to everyone. So you guys don't need to come down and collect them if you don't want. I'm going to be there handing them out. Same thing with their lunch meal card for the day. I'll be there, so I will be handing that out to them. You don't have to worry about that.
All right, awesome. So the next thing I wanted to mention is the websites. This is outside of the overhaul project, but this time of year, I always like to remind all of the coordinators just to do a quick review and make sure the information on your website is updated, especially if you're early match. For early match, applications will start rolling in mid-July. So the trainees are, we'll start looking at our websites starting in June. I just want to make sure that you guys start looking at it and updating things if needed. If you have any questions, just reach out to us. We can help you with stuff. But if your website has already rolled over onto the new format, it should be pretty straightforward. I know I personally don't do major changes every year. It's just updating residents or maybe tweaking, things here or there. And I'm big on having evergreen content on the websites. And what that means is instead of stating a specific date and say like, oh, we'll be reviewing files in September, like September 15th, I will just say mid-September so that we don't have to worry about updating that every year. It's nice to keep it a bit broad so that you're not constantly having to go back and tweaking that. So I did want to mention that. The other thing that I wanted to mention is Eris updates. So I don't know if you guys have played around with Eris recently, but it does have a new look. I'm also not 100% sure if you guys are aware that Eris and Thalamus will be joining forces. So on on April 27th, we got some exciting but unexpected news that Eris will be collaborating with Thalamus starting this cycle. So full disclaimer, I am definitely not a Thalamus expert. I have not used Thalamus. We will be relying on other coordinators that have used it to help guide us through. But here's what I do know so far. So Thalamus will be optional for this year for those that use Eris Scheduler. Now for next year, Eris Scheduler will no longer exist. So if you're using Eris Scheduler to schedule your trainees, you will want to either look at it this year, or if you want to wait until next year. I know oftentimes there's hesitation during the first year of any rollout. That's entirely up to you. But next year, Eris Scheduler will not exist. If you're using other things like, I know some people use like spreadsheets, like Excel spreadsheets or Interview Broker. Obviously, that's not going to change. So those that are unfamiliar with Thalamus as a whole, like myself, I did do a little bit of research. Thalamus management platform consists of 5 sub-products. There's Thalamus Core, there's an itinerary wizard, a cerebellum that will be free with Thalamus, and then there will be a video interview platform and Cortex that you would have to pay for if you wanted additional, those 2 additional features. Now, there are training sessions that you can find online. There are some that are pre-recorded, and they even have some live ones that you can sign up for, which I thought was pretty cool. And we will, GME and the Coordinator Advisory Committee are working on creating some training sessions from within our own group. We're just kind of waiting, and that's the main reason why we had that quick poll on MedHub to find out what you're using now and to see how we can best help everyone figure these things out. Now, I will put in the chat, it's like a shortened link, but this will take you to the, oh my goodness, how do you call that? The FAQs from AAMC that was shared with us. So feel free to use that if you have any additional questions. And I'm looking at this early match, like I mentioned, starts July 19th. So for those that have early match, you will have the option to start working on Thalamus. I'm pretty sure the plan will be that we'll do some trainings early on, and then we may do something later on in the season for those that won't be looking at it until September. And if you are interested, you do have to sign up for the Thalamus through AAMC and Thalamus websites. And those will go into place starting June 21st, but you can sign up now. I can share that link with you as well. And I did call ERIS directly just to get additional information. And what I was told was that they are finalizing details regarding the full integration of Thalamus and ERIS. So you will have to download all the files and upload them to Thalamus. It sounds more complicated than it is, but for next year, it should be fully integrated. And those programs that have already paid for Thalamus for this year, say if you've used it in the past, you will get reimbursed for the payment for this year, since it will be free of charge with ERIS. So I know that was a lot of information. If you have any questions, I can try my best to answer them. But like I mentioned earlier, I'm not an expert, but we can figure this out together. Once again, that email was sent out April 27th, and you should have it. But if you don't, I can also forward it to the group just so everyone is aware. And I'm pretty positive I had forwarded another email where they're going to do like, can you hear me now again? I got a failed. Okay. So I'm pretty sure I sent out an email where they will have, a live session with an FAQ with AAMC and Thalamus together. But once again, I just want to reiterate, Thalamus is going to be the new ERIS scheduler. Are there any questions? I know that was a huge hit for those that use the ERIS scheduler. And if not, like I said, I'm sure there will be a lot more info to come. All right, I think for the most part, that was all I had, unless the GME group had anything else. I'm not sure if you guys have additional questions. I can stay on and chat. Once again, I am not a Thalamus expert, but we're going to figure this out.
FYI, Thalamus is pretty user-friendly. I use it in anesthesia the whole time I was there. I really liked it. I'm sure it's changed a bunch since I've been in it, but having that integration sounds really nice. The Thalamus people were always very, very nice to work with too.
Yeah, I can say personally, I've only heard great things about it. I think the one complaint I have heard is for the Thalamus like video platform. And I can say that they state they've tweaked that, but you can still use Zoom. There is an additional fee for the video platform anyway. So if your program is tight with funding, which I know a lot of programs are, you don't even have to worry about it because you can continue using Zoom for the interview platform and you don't have to worry about the Thalamus one. But like I mentioned before, the only complaint I've heard has been regarding their video platform. Everything else, it's been rave reviews. And there's some comments in the chat. People state they love it. Frankie, Hilda. Oh no, Hilda says she has to log off. And have a good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, so I used Telemus for the past 3 or 4 years. I think at the beginning they were not ready for the amount of people that was gonna use them. That's why maybe the video wasn't that great, but this past winter that I used it, I didn't have any complaint at all. And then for me, it was like one-stop shop. So on one screen, you have everything. So it is really worth it to use all the features that they have.
Now, do you have any idea what the price is? Because they don't have a price on the website. They say contact us for a quote. If you use everything, are you paying for the Thalamus video platform and Cortex? Any clue? Do they charge you per trainee like Interview Broker, I think does, or is it a broad fee?
I think it's a broad fee. They do ask you how many people you're expecting, just to have an idea. And then if you have more than one program, they offer discount. So in OB, we were using it for the residency and then the fellowships. So we did have a special price. I think they just priced Alicia, which is our finance person, for all 3 programs, and it wasn't bad at all. I think it was maybe about $1,000 for all 3 programs, so we can use all the features. And if you're gonna use
Yeah,
it,
when I was you. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I'm sorry. And I think if you're gonna use it, you just to see the video of it, I will recommend to use all the features. Because they communicate with each other. I don't know if people print errors, I don't know if you have to build some type of baseball card, all those things are in there. And then you can create your itinerary. I used to have like shoebox for packet for my people interviewing. Now I don't have to. So highly recommend it.
Yeah, with Thalamus, you can, when I was doing it, you could set up a schedule and then the candidates could pick what date worked best for them. They could move things around. Obviously, you can schedule them yourself as well if you'd rather, but when we were doing it, I think it was $500 for the year. It wasn't too expensive, but obviously that was long before the integration. So I'm sure like the basic stuff they're not going to charge for, right?
So they're not charging for Thalamus Core. They won't be charging for Cerebellum, and they will not be charging for the Itinerary Wizard. If you want to use the video platform, and I'm sorry, I'm looking to the right because that's where my notes are. If you want to use the video platform and Cortex, they will be charging for those 2 individual pieces. And like I mentioned before, if you've already paid for it this year, you'll get reimbursed.
Yeah, I really enjoyed using it there. Like Shirley said, you could send documents, you can send, a welcome email, this is how you use it, this is how to get in touch. Like, here's all the required documents we have to send you, instead of like handing them documents that day. It made things a lot easier. You can send links and stuff like that. Like, I think that's great that they're integrating finally like that.
All right. I guess if you guys have questions, feel free. Computer keeps doing this random thing. If you guys have questions, feel free to reach out to anyone in GME or the CAC. The committee. Miles, I'm hoping will be our point person for this Thalamus project, but we'll give you more information and we will get back to you. Like I said, we're planning some tutorials and some more to come, more info to come.
And Monique, just since you mentioned the CAC, I just want to welcome Frankie Guzman. She is the newest member of the Coordinator Advisory Committee. Woo woo. So
Welcome,
yeah, we're
Frankie.
happy to have, we have a good sized group, I think, right now. So again, if anyone else is interested, please feel free to reach out to
Can you
someone.
repeat?
Oh, could you not hear me? Oh, I said you are the newest member of our Coordinator Advisory Committee.
Oh, yay, thank you.
I don't think that we've actually maybe responded to your inquiry, but we have discussed it as a team, and I think that you'll make a great addition. So happy to have you. And
Awesome, happy.
we'll be able to get you the invite and all of that good stuff.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate it.
great that you're a Thalamus past user, so you can also help inform this, this discussion that Monique's talking about.
Yes.
Great. Thanks, Frankie.
All right. I mean, if there are no other questions, then I guess we're wrapping up for the day. Thank you for joining us. And we'll see you next month.
Thank you, everyone.
No